This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I'm waiting. I've been waiting about 30 years, then 19 years, and then waiting 17 years for the manual to show up and on my doorstep or my mailbox, and it still hasn't shown up yet. I'm talking about the parenting manual of how to be a parent. I don't know if there, I thought there would be one, but we all, as parents, have to figure it out along the way. And sometimes there's some insight and some clues, and that's what this gentleman provides. So much in helping so many. As a licensed marriage and family therapist, he's also a certified mediator. So he blends both areas there to make life a lot easier. Today, we're going to focus on parenting with Gary Santucci, our professional of the year. Welcome back. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Steve. How about yourself?
Did you get the manual?
No, I think they lost my address.
It is... Even if it's your third child, you still have challenges as a parent. It's somewhat it gets a little bit easier, I believe, because you're not walking on eggshells and afraid they're going to fall every 5 seconds. But there's always new challenges come up. Where do we begin with parenting today?
I think we begin at the beginning. When you are first having a child, it's a very exciting time. Probably, if not the most exciting time in your life, right up there in the top 3. And so when your child comes and is born, it changes your life in ways that you really don't understand until you've gone through it. Everything is different. Everything is different. Child becomes the focal point. All your energies are directed toward raising the child in a safe, harmonious, healthy way. And there's no textbook, like you say, no rules, no recipes for being a parent, because every child is different. Every child. You can have 5 children, they're all different from one another. Everybody's got a different personality. Everyone is unique. So the challenge is some of the things that apply to one child may not apply to another. There are books being written about parenting. Some of the ideas in these books are very good, but they don't apply to every child. And so you look at those kinds of things and you think that, okay, this is the answer. And you get there and you find that, no, my child doesn't respond, or maybe I'm not doing it right. It's because every child is unique. So you have to develop your own ways of helping your children grow and helping them grow safely and healthy in that respect.
Yeah, it's I think it's also challenging as a parent to not lose yourself, take care of your children, put that focus on them, try and do the right thing. And it's a delicate blend all the time, because as they get a little bit older, now they become a teenager, you still want to be the cool parent, i.e. maybe their friend, but you can't overdo that, because you also want to still be able to retain authority, respect. It seems like it's, and then a delicate blend yourself, so you don't lose yourself or take away some of your self-care, if it ever existed, which it should. It sounds like a balancing act. Would you say a lot of this is?
I don't think that you can be a friend to your child until they're adults. Because there's so much guidance that needs to take place. So much as far as being able to direct them and help them and support them and encourage them to find the right path, make good choices, do the right thing. And that's not always there. Every child is going to make their own decisions, and you want to help them, along the way, help them make the best decisions for themselves. Most of the time that works. Sometimes it doesn't. And, when it doesn't, we deal a lot with families, and a lot of the family difficulties has to do with parent-child conflict. And that's a very big thing. And a lot of that stems from communication difficulties. which I think is essential in any relationship, whether it's a marital relationship or a parent-child or friend. Communication is at the core of everything. And so if you have difficulties with communication, you're going to have issues, you're going to have conflicts, you're going to have problems that are going to be very difficult to resolve. Sometimes therapy is going to be the best vehicle to help you resolve those.
If your child is at the point where there is some challenge, can it be remedied through therapy most times?
Most times, yes. Most times, yes. And I think you have to have an understanding of what's going on in the home. You have to have an understanding of how the child is responding, how the parents are responding to the child. Are there issues? Is there a disorder like attention deficit disorder,
Hmm.
uh, OCD, oppositional defiant disorder? Is it depression or anxiety or other things that could be present? So sometimes it involves medication. Sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time it's just a little bit of a course correction, and that can happen in therapy. That can happen, with effective communication and as a parent, consistency. We've talked about consistency many times in our sessions here, you and I, Steve. And as a parent, that's probably one of the most important things that you can be is consistent.
100% agree, and that starts when they're young.
Absolutely.
If you
Absolutely.
say something and do the other right
Right.
away, and they don't forget even those times where you could be that. I This song breaks me to tears every time I hear it. But "Cats in the Cradle," Harry Chapin.
Very true. Very true song.
Yeah,
Yes.
they remember. Even if
Uh,
things come up, like I knew we were going to play today, but I can't because of stuff happens. I get it, but if there's a pattern of non-consistency, they're going to remember it, and it's not going to be a good
Absolutely.
thing.
That creates confusion. And when you have confusion, you're not sure what to do. I think, more acting out with confusion. So you have more of disciplinary situations, and that can occur at home, that can occur in school,
Mm,
if it's not a very structured environment. If we can have a structured environment in the home, I think that creates a sense of orderliness. That child knows what to expect. There are no surprises there. Like you say, one time it's this way, next time it's the other way. What's going to happen tomorrow? So if I know that it's consistent, I know that tomorrow we're going to be doing it essentially the same way. We're going to have dinner at the same time. We're going to go to bed at the same time. We're going to take a bath at the same time. We're going to school at the same time. That sort of thing creates, I think, more of a stability than anything else that we do.
when it comes to therapy between a parent or parents and a child, Gary, is it often that they just want to be heard, especially if it's a teenager? The parents want to be heard by their child, and the other way around.
I can't tell you how many times I hear my parents don't listen to me. They don't
Mm,
hear me. And so that's a good starting point. Why are you not being heard? Well,
wow.
sometimes parents don't make themselves available. They're busy. Some parents are working more than one job. They're taking care of the house. They're running errands. There's more than one child. There's a lot of things going on. And for a parent to be able to do all of those things takes a very unique talent and skill set to be able to manage that. That's not easy by any stretch, because it's ongoing, it's nonstop. It happens every single day. And you have to be really on top of your game to be there and be aware of what's going on and be able to help your children and change what's going on and guide them and direct them. That's a real
Mm.
task, every day. Mhm.
How, as a parent, do you get over the guilt? By that I mean, and you mentioned it, where parent may have two or three jobs, they can't spend the time that they want to. Guilt comes in, and then there's other offshoots. Now that parent may be doing maybe giving that child more permission than they normally would just because they feel guilty, or now they're overcompensating and they're putting their kid into like five different activities, and the kid's doing them, but it's really maybe not
Right.
what they really want to do. How do you get over that parental guilt?
I think a parent first has to take care of themselves physically, emotionally, and mentally. We all
Mm,
have that responsibility. So you can't ignore that. You can't, give, and not do anything to help yourself maintain that strength that you need just to get through every day. And especially in terms of being a parent. So a lot of times, parents come home, they're very tired, and the child makes a demand, wants to play, wants the attention, needs to help doing homework. And the parent is just like, it's the end of the day. How much energy does one have? So you're getting the parent at the end of their energy level. And so that creates some situations where, oh, go ahead, you can do this, okay? Or, I don't have time right now. So the child goes off on their own and finds things to do, maybe plays video games.
mm.
Some children play video games for hours and hours, and their parents aren't doing anything to police that. I've heard families say that their children play video games on the weekends 8 to 10 hours each day. Wow, that's
Mm.
that's a lot. And if that's all you're doing, hmm, that's a scary thing. At night, sometimes the children are not policed as far as going to bed on time. So they're up 10, 11, 12. Maybe teenagers have their phones in bed. They're up till 2 or 3. So when they go to school the next day, what is that like? They're not there. Mentally, they're not there. Physically, they're probably falling asleep in class. So there's all these things that a parent has to just be aware of to make sure that they're taking care of that. And that's not easy. That's just not easy to do.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And as that parent, you want your kid to be happy. They're happy playing video games. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing, but now you're
Right,
busy working two or three jobs. I guess it gets back to the delicate blend, the balance between
right.
it all.
And the other thing too, I think we all want our children to be happy. Of course, we want them to be happy. We want them to be safe. And we also talk about them being responsible. We want our children to be responsible. Okay. Oftentimes, in order for them to be responsible, we need to give them the opportunity to be responsible. And a lot of parents don't give their children the opportunity. For
Mm,
example, um,
mm,
taking care of their room, helping around the house. You can put your dishes in the sink. It's not that big of a deal. Okay. At a certain age, you can learn to do your own laundry. You can help vacuum the house or clean the toilets and things like that. Because where do you learn this? You're going to be an adult at some point. And if you don't learn these things at home, are you going to be responsible when you walk across the stage as a senior and get your diploma and all of a sudden everything is wonderful? No, these are good times to teach these things. Parents are teachers too. They're directors, they're teachers, they're motivators. There are a number of different roles as far as being a parent. It's not a single role.
what about you've you allow your kid or kids the free pass, like they didn't clean up their room, maybe you asked, and now you're at the point where it's like, I need help. You're kind of changing the rules because maybe your kid is used to not cleaning up their room. They're used to having their laundry done. Now you need help with that. Now they say no. They
I
buck the
think
system.
there's certain age appropriate things. You're not going to have a 5-year-old cleaning the toilets, right?
Sure.
But as 12-year-old and certainly older, they can do that. They can do their own laundry. Okay. They can help clean up the kitchen. They can vacuum. They can do all those kinds of things. They can make their bed. They can
Hmm.
keep their room clean. All those things are things that parents really have to set the tone. And you want to, there's this thing called cooperation. Every child wants their parents' cooperation. Okay. As a parent, the best way to get your child's cooperation is to give them cooperation when they need it. But children the same thing applies. You want them to have cooperation. They're going to get their cooperation from me when they're cooperating. And so if I'm cooperating with you, I expect you to cooperate with me. I want you to help me out vacuum. I want you to help me, keep clean the kitchen. When you're doing those kinds of things, I'm first in line to cooperate. And I think that's kind of like the attitude you want to have.
Is it okay to say, I need your help vacuuming? No, I don't want to do it. Okay. I need your cooperation because I'm the one that allows you to go to the movies. I give you money to hang out with your friends. Or you want to play video games later? I'm paying for the electric and the internet. Just saying. Is it okay to put those things out there?
Somebody once said, I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse.
Okay.
So I think that's very important here. You make them an offer they can't refuse. Okay. If you want to play video games and they're not going to do it, well, they need the machine to play the video games. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. They need their computer, they need their iPad, or they need their phone. Those are things that are not givens. Those are privileges. So if they're not cooperating, okay, well, I think that if you do that one or two times, that gets their attention. Then they're more than likely to cooperate because they want those electronics. They want to be able to do that, or they want to be able to go out with their friends, or they want to go to the movies. Okay. Those are incentives, those are motivators. And you can be very successful as a parent with those motivators.
What if life changes and let's say a couple is getting divorced, they have children. We could pick any age here as an example, how to handle a very delicate situation. And we can look at it in different ways where, let's say the couple, there's animosity. It's not going as smooth as it should or could. How do you deal with children as part of that?
That's a very volatile area because oftentimes one parent is pitting the child against the other parent.
Mm-hmm.
We call that alienation of affection. Sometimes it's very severe, where the child doesn't have anything to do with the other parent for whatever reason. Some of it is legitimate, some of it is contrived, but nevertheless, it does happen. And that creates a major rift. There's a lot of psychological difficulties that go on in that situation. There's a lot of emotions, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of hurt, sadness, disappointment. All those things are part of it. And so that takes a little bit of time. We have to sometimes reunify a child with a parent. That's not always an easy task because up until that point, the child has been kind of led to believe that the other parent is a bad person, no good for this, deserted us or did whatever, cheated on the mom, cheated on the dad, did a bunch of other things, okay, that kind of taint the child's perception of the other parent. So it's very difficult to sometimes overcome. It takes a little bit of time to overcome that. There has to be a willingness on both parties to be able to resolve that. It's not an easy issue to resolve. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to your point.
That's when parents do a lot of damage to the children. And that does happen a lot, unfortunately.
I know someone, we connected with them, years have gone by, and they told me their story whereby they cheated and it blew up the entire family, and they have two kids, and their oldest is 14 and doesn't want anything to do with the one parent. Almost is nothing. The younger one, he's okay with it. But yeah, and I don't know if there was alienation by the other parent, potentially, but the kids are aware of everything. And the person I'm referring to even said, I screwed up. I'm sorry for it all. It's changed my life and my kids' lives. But how do you turn that around in that situation?
So you want your children to be happy. You want them to be safe. Okay. And if you involve them, if you're going to get a divorce and you involve them in the divorce, you're sharing with them what's going on with the other party. You know what your mother did. or you know what your dad did and all that kind of stuff, that's more harmful to the child. And as a parent, we need to be mindful of that. So if we're going to make sure that our kids are safe, then we can't be doing those kinds of things and sharing that kind of information. That's adult stuff. That's not child stuff. That's adult stuff. That's for the adults, not for the children. You know, your children love both parents, you know, and they prefer mom and dad stay together, of course. But sometimes it's better for mom and dad not to be together for a variety of reasons. And I think some children accept that, know that because they've lived in that volatile environment. But there are other children that are being, should we say, brainwashed into thinking that something is happening when it's not. And that's a very sad situation. And it does happen, unfortunately.
So I want to share something and get your feedback on this. And I've heard this. I know some believe this, in that if you have kids, you made a choice, you should not get divorced short of abuse. Okay. So, factor that out. But you've made a choice. And by getting divorced, it's like putting your children under an emotional bus, running them over. I've heard that. Some believe that. I'm just sharing that thought. What are your thoughts?
It's a very, you have to be very careful about that. If a child or children are being raised in a home where the parents are fighting and there's a lot of tension and there's not a whole lot of happiness going on, and it leads to a divorce, the outcome can be that both parents now are going to be in an environment where they can be happy. Not to say that they will, but they have the opportunity to be happy. And then the children are no longer in that tense environment of two people fighting all the time.
What about now? Let's flip it. Let's go deeper here. What if there's no fighting? There's no real animosity. What if one parent just decides, this is not for me. I want to move on, and that's it.
That does happen. I don't love you anymore. I don't want to be married anymore. I've met somebody else or whatever. There's 1,000 different reasons for that.
Right.
That's a little different, okay? Because that's something that's happening maybe kind of like under the radar. You don't necessarily see it coming, as opposed to parents fighting all the time.
Right.
It's very visible and it happens all the time. I think that when that happens, you're going to have some issues in dealing with the acceptance of that. What do you mean you don't love my mom or you don't love my dad? How come? And who's this new person? And I don't want to have anything to do with this new person, and so on and so forth. So you have all those dynamics that are taking place, and that can be problematic. That can be problematic, not just the short term, but long term as well.
For sure. And especially, I would imagine it's a shock to the kids. Like, wait a minute, we're hanging out playing together one day and then the next day, done.
And all I know is mom and dad being together. And now you're telling me that's not happening?
Right.
What's going on here? And my life is now going to be upside down because of your decisions? Oof.
Well, that's why I have some friends that and people I'm connected to, and this is their opinion, that believe that you shouldn't get divorced unless there's an abusive situation because you made a choice to have kids.
If you're not happy, then you project that not happy in the environment. Your kids see that. Okay. They will be in relationships at some point when they get to be older and they get to be adults. What are they going to see? Because we behave in our relationships by what we saw growing up.
Right.
What are they going to see if two parents are unhappy? Is that how you're supposed to be in a relationship? No. So in that sense, maybe it's healthier that they're not together and that the children have an opportunity to see happiness from both parents in a different environment. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thank you for all the insight today. I know we went in lots of different directions here, but very insightful. Gary, what's the best way to connect with you? I know that you can do sessions virtually with families, with individuals, couples. How do we find you?
954-474-1119 is the phone number. 954-817-1401. You can text me on that number. GarySantucci.com is the website. Check out the website. There's a lot of information on there. Gary Santucci santucci74@gmail.com, where you can contact me through email. And I do sessions both virtually and in person. So if you're interested, just contact me and we'll find a time that's convenient for you and make it happen.
Beautiful. And you do therapy, which is what we're talking about now. You also do mediation. Hopefully we can take care of it with the therapy and not use the mediation, but
right. But if the therapy doesn't work,
yeah,
mediation is right there.
There you go. Gary, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll catch up next time.
Thank you, Steve. Have a great day.
You too.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.